Hello, my name is Alexandrina. It's a long name, isn't it? So, well, you can call me Alexa or Alex or, well, anything else you like, really, because, well, I'm just me. I'm going to tell you a story. Once upon a time, there was a little girl, and she lived at the edge of the forest with her mum and her dad. She didn't have any brothers or sisters, so she played with herself or with her mum and dad. And her mum sewed her a beautiful red cloak with a hood that she loved to wear, and her dad called her Little Red Riding Hood. Now her dad, his job was to cut down wood. He went out into the forest and cut down wood and then sold it to people in the village nearby for firewood. And some wood that was really big, he would sell that to the builders so that they could build houses and sheds and fences and things. Now, every week, Little Red Riding Hood's mummy used to bake lots of cakes, and then she'd put some of the cakes in a basket, and Little Red Riding Hood would take them through the forest to the other side of the forest where her grandmother lived, and she'd take these cakes to her grandmother in her little basket. Now one day, when she was walking through the forest, she saw some beautiful flowers, and she wandered off the path to pick them, because she thought she'd pick some for her grandmother, which was a really kind thing to do. But, you see, Little Red Riding Hood's mother had always told her not to go off the path, because the path led straight through the forest and to her grandmother's house. But if she went off the path, she might get lost. And that's exactly what happened. Little Red Riding Hood saw so many beautiful flowers to pick that she kept walking and walking off the path, and soon she was lost and she couldn't find her way. Well, she was getting a little bit scared when all of a sudden, from behind a tree, she saw a furry face. And it was a wolf, quite a young wolf, not much older than Little Red Riding Hood, really. And this little wolf was peeping out behind the tree. And Little Red Riding Hood said, "Oh, excuse me, Mr. Wolf. I'm lost. Do you think you could help me?" "Oh, of course I could help you," said Mr. Wolf. "Definitely I can help you. Oh, yes. What would you like me to do?" "Well," said Little Red Riding Hood, "I'm lost. I was supposed to be going to my grandma's house, but, well, I saw these pretty flowers and I wandered off the path, and now I'm lost and I can't find my way back." "Oh, don't you worry," said Mr. Wolf. "Come and follow me. I'll show you the way to Grandma's house." So off they went, and Little Red Riding Hood followed the wolf. Now this wolf was a bit naughty. This wolf had ideas that he might quite like to eat all the cakes in the basket and possibly eat Little Red Riding Hood too. Little Red Riding Hood didn't know this, did she? Anyway, she followed the wolf and they got to Grandma's house. When they got to Grandma's house, Little Red Riding Hood couldn't find Grandma in the house. In fact, she couldn't find her anywhere, which was very strange. What she didn't know is that the wolf had been to Little Red Riding Hood's grandma's house and locked Grandma in the cupboard and tied her up and locked her in the cupboard. He was rather naughty, really, wasn't he? Anyway, Little Red Riding Hood said to the wolf, I don't know where my grandma is. And the wolf said, oh, don't worry about Grandma. You can be my friend, said the wolf. Oh, Mr. Wolf, said Little Red Riding Hood, what big eyes you've got. Ah, said the wolf, all the better to see you with, my dear. Oh, Mr. Wolf, said Little Red Riding Hood, what big ears you've got. Ah, all the better to hear you with, my dear, said the wolf. Oh, Mr. Wolf, said Little Red Riding Hood, what big teeth you've got. Ah, said the wolf, all the better to eat you with. Well, Little Red Riding Hood was very, very scared, and she ran and ran and ran and ran and ran all the way along the path as fast as she could, all the way back home to her mummy and her daddy. And she ran into her daddy's workshop and said, Daddy, Daddy, there's a wolf chasing me. Well, Daddy went out and said, Oi, Mr. Wolf, what do you think you're doing? Chasing my little girl. Yes, Daddy, and what's more, I can't find Grandma. Really, said Daddy? Well, we'd better go to Grandma's house then, hadn't we? Oi, you, Mr. Wolf, you come with us. I think you're behind all this mischief. So, Daddy and Little Red Riding Hood and the wolf went back to Grandma's house, and then the wolf said, sorry, I locked her in the cupboard. Poor Grandma. Anyway, she wasn't too badly worried, and she was fine. She wasn't hurt or anything. She was just a bit scared. Anyway, Daddy took the untied her arms and took the thing, where he tied up her mouth to stop her screaming. Yes. Well, anyway, he took it off where the wolf had tied up her mouth so she couldn't scream. Anyway, he took that all off, and Grandma was fine, and Little Red Riding Hood gave her cakes, and she loved her cakes. So anyway, Daddy said to the little wolf, look, why are you doing these horrible things? It's really not nice to tie old ladies up and put them in cupboards and chase little girls through the forest. And the wolf said, well, I'm sorry, but, well, I'm bored and I'm lonely. I've got no one to play with and no one to talk to, and everybody's just frightened of me and well, I'm sad. So I do these things. Sorry. What? Said Daddy. Look, I'll tell you what. Little Red Riding Hood here hasn't got any brothers or sisters, so she's got no one to play with except for me and Mum. So why don't you come to our house for tea and play with Little Red Riding Hood? Oh, can I? Said the wolf. Can I really, really do that? Yes, I don't see why not. After all, I'm there. I'll keep an eye on you. No nonsense. Oh, thank you, said the wolf. So, Daddy and Little Red Riding Hood waved bye-bye to Grandma and left her eating her cakes and having a nice cup of tea, and they went back to Little Red Riding Hood's house. And Little Red Riding Hood and the wolf played happily with Little Red Riding Hood's toys, and they played and they picked flowers for Mummy. And Mummy, well, she made sandwiches and cakes, and they sat down and had a lovely tea. They had squash and cakes and sandwiches and played. And they were very happy. And every week, Little Red Riding Hood takes takes the cakes to Grandma's house, and then on the way back, she calls for Mr. Wolf. And Mr. Wolf comes back to Little Red Riding Hood's house, and they play together and have tea. And sometimes Little Red Riding Hood goes to Mr. Wolf's house, and Mr. Wolf's mummy and daddy make sandwiches as well, and they all lived happily ever after.